Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about Bad Teacher, the 2011 comedy movie. This movie stars Cameron Diaz, and I really enjoyed this movie. It's pretty funny. It could have been funnier, but it wasn't. This is a very interesting and unique movie because it does not have a protagonist. It basically just has an antagonist. And this is like the movie where Cameron Diaz plays a complete B and everything. She just does not care. Like, she is just so rude because she plays a lazy, uninterested teacher who's also a gold digger. She literally goes after men for their money. And when you think about this movie and her being a teacher, like the way her teacher acts and everything is very unprofessional and very unrealistic. But it does make for a pretty hilarious movie. And, I remember when I watched this back in 2011 when I had it on DVD and stuff, a lot of the jokes I heard, like, my God, there are a lot of offensive language in this movie. And her character has to say a lot, especially with the abbreviation of other people races and stuff. And I've heard these phrases before, and they kind of just like, not necessarily went over my head. Like, I know it was wrong and all stuff like that, but I never really like gave it too much thought. And I just figure her character is just like a rude, insensitive, like person like that just says whatever on top of her mind. But when you look at it in today's world of 2023, most likely a movie like this would still get made, but the dialogue would change a lot. I'm pretty sure younger people will probably watch this movie and be all like, whoa, there's some offensive language in here, and it has to like change. So for the point of being, yeah, it will probably be problematic and stuff, and it'll probably set some people like ears on fire. Sadly, that's just the way comedy was back in like the day, back in 2011. But things are changing now, and people are trying to change comedy so much for the better, to the point where it is getting kind of boring and dull. But like, you can make offensive jokes. You just don't have to use certain language to make offensive jokes. That's the thing. I don't mind an offensive joke, and I don't mind a stereotypical like joke, but it has to be done in good taste and it has to be written smart. You just can't write it for like shock value, you know what I'm saying? And that's what this movie does. It does it for shock value, but it's written by the people of The Office and stuff. Now, this movie has a huge cast, some famous names you'll recognize: Justin Timberlake, Lucy Punch, Phyllis Smith, and Jason Segel. Also that of, I can't think of the principal's name right now. But he's been in like a lot of stuff. Oh man, I feel bad. I forgot that dude's name. It's Michael. No, it's John Michael Higgins. I think that's his name. Very funny dude. And it's funny because this movie also stars a lot of young people who made it pretty big and stuff. Like, when I was watching this, I don't know every young person on here. There's like two I'm unfamiliar with. One's like a singer. I'm unfamiliar with him, and I'm not really sure who the Garrett dude is. But like, one of the people in here is Kathleen. No, yeah, wait. Is it Kathleen or is it yeah, I think it's Kathleen Newton. Like, she's from like Freaky and the Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania movie, and also Little Women, the PBS movie. I'm like, man, I couldn't believe that was her when I saw her and stuff. And so like, Caitlin Denvers is in here. She's from like Last Man Standing. Noah Manuk, or whatever you say his name is, from iCarly, Gibby, or whatever his name was. And like Aiden Kylie Turner, the dude who played Morgan's son in The Walking Dead in the first season. So I was like, man, I couldn't believe this is how they got their start and everything. And so it's weird hearing Gibby cuss from iCarly. It just is, man. And so this movie made its budget back big time. Like it had a budget of like 46 million, made about 200 something million and stuff. And but there was never a sequel. There were talks of a sequel, but never was. Cameron Diaz went on to do like other movies, but then that's when her movie career started to hit bomb after bomb after bomb. And then I think she retired from like acting and stuff. However, they're making another Shrek movie, and most likely she will return. It's also crazy that Cameron Diaz co-starred with Justin Timberlake in this movie because this came out in 2011 and they broke up about 4 or 5 years before that and stuff. And it's just weird, working with your ex and they play like kind of like love interest kind of. But then she worked with him on the Shrek movie, so personally, when it comes to just Justin Timberlake, love his music, but the dude needs to stop acting. They need to stop casting this dude and stuff. Every time they cast him in the movie, it either gets mixed reviews or it bombs. Like I remember one time they tried to make him a leading man in a movie. It was some kind of time movie with Amanda Seyfried or whatever her name is, and it bombed. Like it bombed. He's not an actor, and people need to realize he needs to realize that and stuff. I hate when they cast all these music people for movies because they're not properly trained and stuff. And so, like, God, he can't act, but he can sing and dance. But I was a fan of Instinct. I was a fan of his solo stuff. I still think it sucks that Janet Jackson took the blame for all that stuff that happened at the Super Bowl halftime thing, and he didn't. And it just stopped casting him and stuff. And so it also stars that of Jason Segel, and he is funny in this. It's like his comedy approach in this is kind of like blunt sarcasticness. Like I don't know, it's weird to describe his comedic sense. It's like he's sarcastic. He's not really dry wit, but kinda is. But it just comes off so funny. Now him and Cameron did another movie together, and it bombed. And then of course he's from How I Met Your Mother and stuff like that, and I hope he got his demons under control. I remember like I read somewhere he had alcoholism and him and his wife like broke up. His wife was hot. Like how do you mess that up? But hopefully he got that under control and stuff. And it also has Phyllis Smith, which she's from like The Office. I've never seen The Office, like never. I'm afraid to watch it. I'm afraid I'm gonna like it and then want to buy it on DVD. So I've been like putting The Office off for the longest time. And I hate when I do that crap because it's like there's so many shows with a big hype, and then like I boycott them, right? But then I end up watching them like crap. Nah, I like them like Smallville and Desperate Housewives and Modern Family, The Big Bang Theory. I'm like crap, dude. Now I need these DVDs. So I've been putting The Office off for a pretty long time. And she has a very unique comedy sense to her, like approach to her. Like she's so funny, but all she does is talk in her like sweet, like kind-hearted, soft-spoken voice, and she just talks slow. But somehow it comes out very funny because of the stuff she says, and because she always has that shy awkwardness to her. It just makes it more funny. Like it's so weird. Like some people think in order to be funny, you have to be like really bombastic and stuff. She doesn't. She's just calm and soft-spoken, and it's some of the most hilarious stuff ever. And so, like, Lucy Punch is in this. I have no idea who she is. I saw her in a series of unfortunate events after this movie, and she was hilarious in this movie. She plays a good, goody goody two shoes crazy woman, and she's British. I did not know that. I miss her red hair. I'm sorry, that blonde hair ain't doing it for me. She needs that red hair. She is sensational with that red hair. And so, like, Cameron Diaz, man. I've seen Cameron Diaz in so much stuff. Like she always managed to play well, whatever it is she's given. Whether it's the like the blonde dumb girl, an action hero, a person who is kind of like whatever she was in that Vegas movie with Ashton Kutcher. Like, she was just kind of like a nagging kind of person and a serious but funny kind of person. And there's a reason why she's been around forever and ever and ever in Hollywood. Like, this is the reason why I even watched that movie. When I saw she was in it and I saw like the trailer, I'm like, oh man, I gotta see this. And it's sad that her career started bombing towards the end and now she's like retired and stuff, man. Because she's so good at what she does. I guess it's maybe she didn't pick good projects, probably. Like, I don't know what it was, but maybe people were just kind of tired of, I don't know, I guess the Cameron Diaz effect or whatever you want to call it. Like, I know one of the biggest things about her when she acts is like her smile. She smiles like a lot. Like, like a lot. Because, she has that like awesome smile and everything, and those lips and stuff, and those cheekbones. But when you do that, I guess, in every movie, and they really focus on that, like the camera, I guess people got tired of seeing that. And so, I don't know. I want her to come back in movies, man. Like, I really do. Man, that car wash scene was amazing. Those legs. And she didn't even have to wear like a skimpy outfit. She just wore like short booty shorts and like a flannel top that was that was kind of like showing her midriff. And that was it. She didn't have to be in a bikini or nothing like that. But she made it so like amazing and stuff. And one of my favorite scenes is the montage when she's like collecting money and you hear like Gangster's Paradise, and then you actually see like the Lucy Punch character and she's actually dressed like a gangster person from like the hood. And so like, and then she just takes off her thing and then she looks at Cameron Diaz character, and Cameron Diaz character, man, is looking fierce in that black dress and the shades and just staring her down, her hands on her hips. I love that scene. But like, I can understand why this movie had like, mixed reviews. What are you really supposed to root for in this movie? Like in the movie, it always has that formula. You have your protagonist, you have your antagonist, you have your plot, and that person has to go to a certain goal. In here, it's a little different. I mean, there's a reason why it's called Bad Teacher. She is literally the a worst teacher you ever like imagine. Her goals are very selfish. She is the gold digger and everything. Like throughout this entire movie, in the beginning, like she quits like her job because she finally got engaged to a very wealthy man, has a nice car and everything. Then his mother realizes, yo, she's draining your bank account. She's a hussy and everything. And so this causes him to finally like grow a backbone and break up with her. It's funny about women that are gold diggers and women who just marry men for money. That is really the oldest profession for women, but it was forced upon them because back in the old days, back as like 52 BC, whatever you want to call that stuff. Like, women were not allowed to work. And for centuries, not years, not decades, but for centuries, women just weren't allowed to work. And that's because men forced them into like a household situation. And so that mentality stayed with them for many, many centuries. Then when women were finally allowed to get in the workforce, many of them did work, but some of them still stayed at home, and some of them still use men for money. But for the most part, more women are working now. And now it's the opposite. Now less men are working and more men have become gold diggers. And it's funny because women get mad at men for becoming like gold diggers, but it's like, yo, y'all used to be that back in the day. But it's cool how times have finally changed for women have really taken a stride in like the workforce and politics. And well, now everybody in politics is good, like that crazy woman and stuff. But like, um, it's just like it's so great that after so many centuries that times have changed, and it does suck when men get mad at women talking about, oh, they're taking our jobs and this and that. It's like, dude, do your history, see how the world used to be. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, and so now she's forced back at her job at school, and she is the laziest, worst teacher you can ever imagine. All she does is sleep. She drinks alcohol during class when she hides herself. She smokes pot in her car in the parking lot and everything. She's so rude to her students. She's always cussing them out and hitting them with stuff and and then on the worst thing ever, she lets them watch movies and never teaches them nothing. Like never. And they don't watch normal movies like educational. They watch regular movies like Scream and stuff like that. And whatever that one Michelle Pfeiffer was in, that the song Gangster Paradise is based off of. I forgot the name of it. And it's like, you have to think in a logical kind of way. How did her students ever pass if they never take tests, if they never do anything? Like, they never do and stuff. And that just never made no sense. So you think she would have been fired years ago, but the movie doesn't extrapolate on that and stuff. But everybody at the school loves her to like death until one doesn't. Amy, played by Lucy Punch. Amy starts to realize something. She starts to realize that, the kids are watching nothing but movies. And so she starts to get on to her about it, but she does it in a nice way. Like the Amy character is really, really goody goody two shoes and very nice. And but then we in the movie you start to see she's not that nice. She's manipulative. She bribes a little girl into telling the truth and snitching on her teacher. It turns out she actually had a nervous breakdown a couple of years back, and it's a little cuckoo crazy in the head and stuff. And so it's hard to root for your main character when she's an antagonist. But then her goals in the movie are like completely and utterly like selfish and stuff. Like her goals in the movie originally is to get money to get breast implants. That's her main goal. In the movie, it's just to get breast implants. And so she's doing everything she can to get money. She's calling up her ex-fiance. He hangs the phone up on her. She's begging her dad for money. She's stealing from the school, like the lost and found, and then she sells that. She takes all the cans from the recycle part of the school, and she sells those. Then she has a car wash for the school, but she steals all the money and the tips and everything. Like she is the worst. But then um it turns out that there's a school bonus and stuff like that. And if your kids can pass this standardized test, they get a bonus of 45 thousand or something like that. And so now all of a sudden, instead of the goodness of her heart to want to teach the students, now she's forcing them to learn stuff because she wants the bonus money, and she's giving them tests and all this other stuff, forcing them to read books, forcing them to read 100 pages in one night, and they haven't learned none of this stuff, and they literally had a test the next day. And so it makes for a very terrible main character when she acts like this. Like her goals are totally selfish and everything. Then there's a new teacher there, played by Justin Timberlake character, and he's like a goody goody two shoes type person. And this causes her and the Lucy Punch character to compete for him because he just had a breakup and he no longer wants to date. So he kind of rejects the Cameron character. But then when the Lucy Punch character starts to come on him because she's nicer and goody goody like him, he starts to come around more to her. And so she's doing everything she can to get him and everything. while all along, the Jason Segel character has a crush on her. And so they actually have a bit more in common. They sarcastic, they talk down to their students, and they both smoke pot and everything. But when you look at him and look at her in the situation they're in, he's not her type. She likes rich men. She goes to bars looking for rich men. When she finds out one's a trainee and wants to quit his job and go back to college and become a counselor, she drops him to the curb and everything. Like, she literally stated she's looking to marry for money. And so the Jason Segel character never makes no sense for her and stuff. But it's typical Hollywood formula of like the hot, like, spoiled girl goes for like, the more goody goody Prince Charming type guy, even though he's not really Prince Charming and stuff. And so, like, there's a lot of hilarious stuff that goes on back and forth between her and the Amy character, looking for the affection of the Justin Timberlake character. Basically, he's all for Amy, he's not for her. And so she does things like rub, like, poison ivy on the apple, and the woman eats it, and then she has, like, her face is all broken out. And then all of a sudden, the Justin Timberlake character falls for the Cameron Diaz character, which is weird because that's not his type whatsoever. And then when they start to like kind of like do it, he's just dry humping her and stuff, which turns her off. And it does make for a very hilarious scene, but she's just not interested in him. But she was interested in him only because he's super rich and everything, which doesn't explain why he's a teacher. But like, he's gonna get two shoes and he wants to get back to the community and teaching and stuff like that. So one thing it turns out she's good at, I guess you can consider good at, is giving advice. She gives advice to all her students, but in a very dry, disgusting kind of way. Like, there's this one girl who wants to be president of the United States, and she tells her, you'll be better being a masseuse. You get money and tips, and don't, stop like, planning your future out and stuff. But it's good to have actual good goals. Like, to be president of the United States and the first female one is a great goal. But yet this girl is in middle school, but she only has a few years of high school left. She can go to a really good college. She can take up like, what is it called? Is it political science or whatever major it is, and then work her way up from like the top and everything, be like an intern, a congressperson, mayor, like whatever, you know what I'm saying? But yet she tells her, hey, why not be a masseuse and get some tips and stuff like that. And so there's this one dude who has a crush on this one girl who's really attractive in school, and she tells him, look, dude, she ain't your type. She's like me. She's hot and you're not. And so she tries to give him like all kind of advice and all this other stuff. But then it's weird because towards the end, she goes for the Jason Segel character. And he's like that dude in class that she tries to tell him, don't be attracted to and stuff. And so the messaging in here, like, I just think the messaging in the movie is kind of off. If they would have made her slightly more into a likable character, the movie would have been even more better than what it would have been. I already mentioned she became a counselor at the end of like, the movie and stuff like that. Because like there was times she almost got fired because the lady switched desks with her and she had like drugs and all this other stuff and like her desk. But then it's funny because the Cameron character, she was all like, oh yeah, there's a teacher here doing drugs. And since the lady switched desks, then the Lucy Punch character got fired and stuff. But anyways, so like, I just think this movie would have been way more better if, one, they just didn't throw in crazy jokes for the sake of being crazy jokes. Oh, I forgot to mention, she even drugs the dude who has all the standardized test answers and stuff. She literally drugs him and gets the like test answers from him, and so that her students can like pass and everything, because they were doing like really bad. Like, she is the worst. And so yeah, if this movie would have had jokes that weren't just like crazy just for the sake of being crazy, it would have been a little bit better. But this is a funny movie, don't get me wrong. I think that like if the main character would have had some type of likable quality to her, then people would have been able to relate to her more. This movie really is just for like gold diggers and stuff like that. And like how many of them are actually gonna watch this movie based on like the title? You know what I'm saying? Also, like it would have made more sense if she would have actually liked the Jason Segel character other than just the Hollywood formula, because just don't really buy it. Like in Clueless, I never bought the whole Cher and Josh thing. I think Cher and Travis would have been a whole lot better because like they actually brought some good like features out in each other. You know what I'm saying? Like he, cause like no way, I'm thinking of her and Ty and everything, not her and Trap. But yeah, her and Travis would have been like a great couple and everything because he's really sweet and nice, and she started to be sweet and nice later on towards me. So that's the thing about Clueless. And the Cher character, Cher was a very stuck up, snooty person and a rude person in the beginning and middle of the movie. But then she later learned to be a nice person, especially when bad stuff started happening. And she became a very nice person towards the end of the movie. And because of that, her and Travis should have been together because Travis has always been nice to that of Cher, no matter how rude she was to him. And they have a few more things in common. But the Cameron Diaz character and the Jason Segel character, they really don't have that much in common, even though the movie tries to make you think that. They smoke pot, they're sarcastic, and that's about it. Like they dress differently, they have different like goals in life. It doesn't make sense for them to be together and stuff. And it's just like if the writing was better and a little bit more formulaic and something more people can relate to, I think it would have been better. Now, since this never got a sequel, there was a TV remake on CBS, and I could not get into that show to save my life. It was very much like formatted in a sitcom kind of way. And with this character, it's a little bit different. She is stuck up. She is a gold digger. She is a rude teacher, but she has a more compassionate side. Basically, she tries to help people out a bit more towards the end of like like an episode and stuff, which the Cameron Diaz character never did. She only tried to help herself. She never tried to really help the students in any kind of meaningful kind of way. Now the DVD is weird. Like I've had a DVD for years and I have a Blu-ray player. And when watching it recently, I noticed something. Halfway in the movie, the audio cut off and there was a weird message. Apparently this is like some type of like weird copyright thing that a lot of Blu-ray like players and stuff have to like have. And it's so weird and bizarre. And there's really no way to get rid of it. Like you can like pause it and skip and then go back to wherever it did that, but it's like basically some weird kind of copyright law type thing that like happened and stuff with like a lot of companies and like Sony and stuff like that. And it's just weird. I've never had this much trouble with like a DVD player. But once you go to like Blu-ray player, you have to like a Blu-ray player, you have to like update it. You have to like the firmware, whatever crap that's called, and like certain like discs just will not play. Like I had like The Last Ship, and it plays fine in a DVD player, but a Blu-ray player, sometimes this won't work. Same thing with the Evil Dead TV series. The Blu-ray disc won't work for a Blu-ray player, but then a DVD disc will. I don't understand what the world's going on. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.